It was a quiet night in Chengdu. The autumn air brings a characteristic coolness, and the city sky is shrouded in orange lights that bounce off the wet streets after the rain this afternoon. As someone who often monitors the activities of celebrities around the area of the elite apartment complex where some of the top actors and actresses live, the night initially felt ordinary, nothing flashy, until two figures with calm steps came out of the lobby door of the apartment, dressed in such relaxed clothes, but somehow managed to make me stop on the spot. I thought it was just two ordinary people who wanted to get some fresh air, but as they approached towards the small garden in front of the apartment, the dim garden lights highlighted their faces at a glance. I instantly recognized the silhouette and the way it walked. Dylan Wang in an oversized black hoodie, baseball cap and gray mask, and next to him, Bai Lu, in a loose white jacket and light gray training pants. They walked side by side, unhurriedly. There was no excessive romance, no hand-holding, but the way they walked together gave a warm feeling, like two people who were very comfortable with each other. I stood not far away, trying not to make a sound. The night breeze blew gently, carrying the scent of wet leaves and a slight soapy fragrance from the direction they passed. The two seemed to speak slowly. Dylan occasionally lowered his head, looking at Bai Lu while smiling behind the mask. Although some of the face was covered, the look in his eyes was enough to show something, an unfeigned familiarity. They stopped under a large tree at the edge of the park, where there were wooden benches that other residents rarely used. Bai Lu looked up, saw the night sky covered with thin clouds, then lowered his head with a small laugh. Dylan seemed to say something that made Bai Lu lightly hit his arm, a typical reflex gesture of someone who was amused but delighted. I thought this scene was too good to be true. There were no professional cameras, no flashing lights, but the atmosphere was far more real than any romantic drama scene. Interestingly, they really dressed modestly. Dylan is wearing only a hoodie without a logo, jogger pants and plain black shoes. Bai Lu looked just the way she was, without heavy makeup, her hair tied back, and a mask covering most of her face. But it's precisely that simplicity that makes the moment feel sincere. They talked for a long time, not out loud, but their expressions told quite a story. Dylan's hands were occasionally in his pockets, while Bai Lu played the hem of his jacket, occasionally kicking dry leaves on the ground. For some reason, from a distance, I could feel the calm energy surrounding them. There is a sense of comfort that does not need many words. About 15 minutes they sat on that park bench. No one came to approach, probably because the time was already quite late. Past 10 in the evening, the garden lights began to dim, leaving a soft atmosphere that made everything feel more intimate. I heard Bai Lu's slow but clear laugh. The sound was like a melodic cut among the silence of the city. Dylan seemed to reply with a short joke, then they laughed together. There was something interesting about the way they interacted. No awkwardness, no impression of colleagues, as they used to look on the set. There are only two people who enjoy time together. Maybe because they are tired from the routine, or maybe because they just want to share a simple silence. Dylan turned around a few times, probably just to make sure no one was watching them. But then he calmed down again. Bai Lu seemed to point something towards the small fountain in the garden, and Dylan stood up, walking closer to her. The fountain was small, with the light of blue lights at the bottom of the pond, creating a beautiful reflection on their faces. It was then, at a glance, that Bai Lu pulled Dylan's hoodie from behind while laughing. The movements are light, like a whim teasing a close friend. Dylan turned his head, pretending to be upset, then ruffled Bai Lu's partially loose hair. The moment lasted only a few seconds, but there was a warmth that was difficult to explain. It's like seeing two people who understand each other without having to talk much. I pulled out my phone, turned on the camera silently, tried to capture the moment. But before I had time to record any longer, Dylan turned his head. His gaze sharp but not angry, more like, please don't interrupt this moment. I put my phone down, holding my breath. He looked back at Bai Lu, continuing the conversation as before, as if nothing had happened. I realized they were just looking for the wind. Just wanted to be a non-celebrity for a while. About 11 o'clock, the two of them walked back towards the direction of the apartment. Dylan walked on the outer side of the sidewalk, slightly lowering his head to avoid the cold night wind, while Bai Lu lowered his head, his hands tucked into his jacket pockets. They were in no hurry, just walking slowly, like enjoying every step of the night. Before entering the lobby door, Bai Lu turned her head briefly towards the garden as if to recall the atmosphere of that night. Dylan patted his shoulder softly, signaling to enter, and as soon as the glass door automatically closes, the atmosphere becomes quiet again. I was still standing in place, staring in the direction they disappeared. The next morning, social media was not yet crowded. No one talked about the incident, probably because they were so careful. But a few days later, a fan account posted a blurry photo of two figures very similar to them, in the same location. The photo was taken from afar, and although the face was not clearly visible, the style of the dress and the silhouette of the body made fans convinced that it was indeed Dylan and Bai Lu. Comments also appear, "That's the same hoodie Dylan used in his vlog. Bai Lu has that white jacket, it was worn during a live stream last week. They went out together. Wow, this is really sweet." Speculation is everywhere. But for anyone who saw it live that night, like me, the moment wasn't about hype or gossip. More than that, it's about two people trying to find a little space to breathe in between the spotlight of the entertainment world. As someone who has worked around filming locations for a long time, I know it's hard for celebrities to get privacy. Yet that night, under the gentle Chengdu sky, Dylan, Wang and Bai Lu looked like two ordinary mortals, who just wanted to casually walk, chuckle, and talk unscripted. No manager, no staff, no cameras. Only two hearts seemed so calm in simple togetherness. And honestly, the moment is much more worth than any romantic scene on the screen. Because what I saw that night wasn't acting, it was honesty. Maybe that's why, even after they re-entered the apartment and the night was quiet again, that warm atmosphere was still felt in the air, like a two-step trail that leaves a wordless impression. A few days after the incident, the news of the two was again crowded because of the drama project they starred in together. But for those watching closely, their interactions in front of the camera felt a little different. Softer, more natural, as if something had changed since that night. I don't know if they really have more in common than just co-workers, or just two very comfortable best friends. But one thing is certain, that night, I witnessed their rarely seen human side, the warm, simple, and real side. They are not big stars with grandiose lighting, not drama characters written with perfect scripts. They are just Dylan and Bai, two people who walk under the city sky, looking for the night breeze, and maybe find peace in the presence of each other. That night may seem ordinary to some, but to me who saw it firsthand, it was like watching a tender and sincere fragment of real life. No spotlights, no applause, just a pair of small steps coming together in simple harmony. And for some reason, since that night, every time the night wind blew, I always remembered how the two figures laughed quietly under the light of the garden. A short moment, but it feels so long in the heart.